Hello everybody, I am trapped in my house because I have COVID and I can't go anywhere, so I thought this will be the perfect time to film stuff because I actually feel okay, even though I have like my little tea here and my little Vicks tissue, which I got by accident. I didn't even know it was Vicks. Like, I went to go wipe my nose and I was like, I want to talk about sub-dom-verse AU. If you don't know what that is, it's where sub and dom are used as a secondary gender, similar to Omegaverse. Only there's some differences, but I want to talk about the pros and cons that I've come across like reading these types of stories, because this is a type of genre of BL that I've been seeing recently, that I've come across recently, that I've taken a liking to. Very similar to Omegaverse in a way, but there's also a lot of differences. One of the pros, which I am very, very fond of, is the fact that you get to read sexy commands and sexy lines. I like a lot of talking during my intimate scenes, so that was fulfilled. If you like romantic interests that have a lot of dominant energy, you're in luck. And this dynamic tends to be very similar to Omegaverse with the added dialogue. Another thing that I really love about sub-domverse is the fact that there's no such thing as pairing. Listen, I do like pairing, especially the emotional aspect of it when you've been waiting for a character to finally pair with their omega or alpha, but that's too much of a big commitment for me. Like, that's the rest of your life. And when you have stories where somebody is like paired with the wrong person or they were bitten against their will. One I read recently, this omega had his pairing glands or whatever the heck taken out because he couldn't find his partner and he was never able to pair with anybody ever again. Like, that is just depressing and I'm tired. Well, why don't you avoid those stories? Well, sorry, those happen to be the most interesting stories. One reason why I really like sub-domverse is it gives you that very popular Omegaverse like sub-dom energy dynamic without major life changes. But I think part of the reason why I'm so like afraid of it is, you know, the quality of partners like in the real world. So it's my hang up with comparing like real life with Omegaverse AU. Now we're going to discuss the cons of sub-domverse, and there's some major ones. Like, if you thought Omegaverse was really grapey, welcome to sub-domverse. Unlike Omegaverse, where characters can respond more strongly to their like chosen partner, subs can respond to any dom, and I just see this going in a very terrible direction without that whole buffer of, I like this person more because their sin is different. Oh, I'm in heat every time like my boss comes around. Like, you don't get any of that. It's just like, sit down, and then the sub sits down no matter who it is. You guys could see why that would lead to some pretty unsafe scenarios. So I see the future being filled with a lot of grapey material similar to Omegaverse. Another thing that I don't like about some dom subverse or sub-domverse is that safe words can have a negative connotation. Like, using a safe word in some stories can mean that you don't trust your partner, when in real life it's the opposite. Safe words are built on trust and consent. But there's a lot of manga stories where the character will use a safe word and then their dom will be super upset because it's just like, oh, you don't trust me and I hate it. And that's why it's important to remember that this is a fictional alternate universe, not real play. Dom, sub, switch are treated like secondary genders, similar to Omegaverse's beta, alpha, omega dynamic. Another sort of con that I've come across is the fact that there's no like straight sub-domverse stories, and I really hope the AU gets popular enough to start seeing some straight sub-domverse stories. I don't expect it to be as explicit as sub-domverse BL, because even Omegaverse is quite lackluster when it's straight compared to BL stories that we get. Even though it's probably not going to be as good, like I would love to see it. And something else in the category of diversity in stories, I have not seen a proper story with a switch yet. I've seen a switch be mentioned in one story, and I'm watching that mangaka like a hawk, waiting for a side story. I need it. I need it. Just like Omegaverse started experimenting, pairing alphas with alphas, betas with alphas, having alphas look like omegas until they're like eventually discovered. I'm trying to see these stories diversify a little bit, if you know what I mean. And I feel like switch stories would align more with my personal taste. And I would also like to see 2 doms to 1 sub. TikTok, I'm waiting. But yeah, guys, look out for like sub-domverse, because I will definitely be keeping it on my radar. I like it a lot.